All right, everyone, we start off today talking about Gregsteube actually introducing articles of impeachment against Joe Biden. Whether or not this gets taken seriously by McCarthy, like enough so that they hold a vote on whether to have a full vote on impeachment or something, I think it's considered premature by the unipartyists running the GOP House. They are trying very hard not to impeach Biden, it seems, because, of course, you've already got everything that you need. Literally, the House can impeach anyone, can impeach the president for any reason. All you have to do is have a simple majority within the House and say, well, we think that the president is guilty of some high crime or misdemeanor. Impeachment doesn't require any real evidence whatsoever. Trump was impeached twice on spurious circumstances for absolutely nothing. Of course, there was no reason to impeach him, but he was. Why? Because the Democrats controlled the House, and they held rank. McCarthy should do the same thing. Again, right now, while it's big in the news cycle, even though they're trying to cover for it by, repeatedly persecuting Donald Trump, we've got the laptop from Hunter Biden. We've got evidence of foreign bribery. We've got evidence of quid pro quo. You've got everything that you could possibly need. The Democrats, if the names were reversed, the letters after the names were reversed, so Biden was a Republican, and the Dems had a narrow House majority, they already would have impeached him. They would have done it probably within a few months of the election. Nonetheless, Kevin McCarthy keeps dragging his heels and his ass across the floor at the same time. Now, these particular articles are interesting. Of course, bribery is part of that. Abuse of power, which, we know that occurred. Look at the Twitter files. The evidence is there. It is not a nothing burger. It's there in black and white. You've got multiple whistleblowers from several different agencies, as well as others, like Gal Luft and so forth, Bob Alinsky. You've got the Devon Archer testimony. You've got everything that you need. I'm hesitant about that. But there's a second thing that Gregsteube, and this is buried down the article, almost like a lie by structure, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. There's something else that Gregsteube wants to implement, which is trying to get to the bottom of whose coke it was in the White House and looking through the measures that are responsible for keeping controlled substances out of D.C., basically. That is much more interesting to me, which is naturally why all the news reporting on Gregsteube that generally glosses over and says, well, there's really no reason for these charges. Biden didn't do anything wrong. We don't need to investigate any further, by the way, because he's self-evidently just a fucking cherubic. He would never hurt a fly. Of course, Joe is the happy old grandpa. He'd never do anything wrong. We know it because we know it. That second part actually may have legs. The second component here in regards to looking into the White House cocaine cover-up is much more important and much more potentially damaging. Again, McCarthy would have to take up the impeachment articles and actually go with them. They're there. You have evidence. Again, in the partisan theatrics, which are D.C., the Democrats would have already impeached. But there's like maybe a 10% chance that actually ends up working in the end for Gregsteube. Looking into the drug scandal in the White House, though, is, in my opinion, much more interesting, hence why it's buried down the article. Let's look through some of this verbatim. This is the impeachment part. The first accuses the president of abusing the power of his office by allegedly accepting bribes, committing Hobbs Act extortion, and honest services fraud related to his official position. That's from back when he was VP, actually. The second article charges that President Biden obstructed justice, citing the IRS whistleblower. The third and fourth articles accuse Biden of fraud and paying for Hunter Biden's illegal drugs and trysts with prostitutes, respectively. Well, he did, by peddling influence. That one would be a little bit more difficult to prove. But then again, keep in mind, the House's impeachment power is basically just to j'accuse. It's an accusation. It has to go to the Senate in order for there to be an actual, well, in the legislative sense, an actual trial. It's DOA in the Senate. We know that Biden's not going to get removed from office no matter how many pieces of evidence of his crimes pile up, because the Senate's run by the Democrats. The House doesn't have to worry about that. Do you honestly expect, is Kevin McCarthy so goddamn stupid that he genuinely expects that the Democrats can possibly be convinced to impeach Joe Biden, especially given the current tumultuous political situation? Absolutely not. On the same day, this is the interesting part, again halfway down the article, Steube introduced legislation to require the Secret Service chief to write a report on the illicit use of controlled substances in the White House. The move comes after the Secret Service closed its investigation, and that was really quick investigation, by the way, into cocaine found at the White House last month without identifying a person of interest. Steube named the bill the Helping Understand Narcotics Traces at the Executive Residence, or Hunter Act. Now that one I like. It'll be harder for them to ignore that. That may very well pass. And you watch, the Democrats will close rank on that one too, in order to not tell who brought the white powder into the White House again. When I was a kid, post 9/11, when I was much younger, baggie of white powder at the White House would have caused an absolute societal breakdown. People would have had a mental breakdown assuming that it was anthrax. Oh no, don't worry everyone, Bush would have to come out on TV. Don't worry everyone, it was just a druggie around or something, it was cocaine. Oh, thank God, people would say. It would have been hilarious. And if it had happened under Obama or Trump, there would have been a thorough investigation. There would have been lots of memes about Obama slipping back into his old habits, and there would have been lots of memes under Trump about him, or Don Jr. specifically, snorting the coke. Meanwhile, we're supposed to believe that two known drug addicts, which are Hunter and Ashley Biden, I can't really blame them, look at who their dad is. Apple didn't fall far from the tree. I'm sure that Joe did a little blow back in the 70s and 80s, by the way. Despite his tough-on-crime stance publicly, and private, of course, again. The law is like a spider's web and the wasps go free. Looking at that, you've got two known drug addicts that have free White House access. They're the only people that the press will tell you are definitely not the ones that left the cocaine there. Anyone else, it's plausible. Could have been a journal, could have been a tourist. They tried to blame tourists at first. It's the Italian tourist, as the DPRK news page would tell you. Or a dignitary or something. But it couldn't possibly be a security breach related to someone in Biden's inner circle. Of course, we now know that that's not the case. It actually was somebody from within Biden's inner circle. They're just not telling us which person that happens to be. Probably Hunter. So the articles of impeachment, while they're apt, you should impeach Joe Biden. Do I think that the GOP House leadership has the balls to do that? No, the GOP can be handed on a silver platter a major scandal. It's already bigger than Watergate, what's went on with Joe and Hunter and all of the others. You've got plenty of evidence of it. They're still holding back. No, do not do anything until I say to proceed, says Kevin McCarthy, who then proceeds backwards. This is the MO of the U.S. Republican Party, it seems, for some number of years. This is why they don't get along with Trump, because he actually tries to do what he says he wants to do. That's not normal behavior for a Republican. That's why you know he's not a long-term insider. Of course, back in the 90s, he was really more of a liberal Democrat. That's about all. Peace out.